Right. Hi, everyone. So for those of you that were not here during my small demo for the waiting time during GeoGuessr, I'm Joffrey. I'm a developer relation engineer at Mistral. And today I'm here to talk to you about how do we implement MCPs in the Mistral ecosystem. So a little bit about myself. If you want to talk with me after, I would be very interested. I love agents. I actually wrote a course about them during my time at Hugging Face. This is the Hugging Face AI agent course that I've done like a few months ago. So MCP, out of you, who is familiar with MCP? Like, who use MCP on a daily basis? Okay, who built MCP servers? Okay, quite a few, so I can adapt. So for those of you that don't know, MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. So it's a protocol that allows you to enable application and agent to integrate with ready-made tools. You may wonder, like, what's the added value from function calling? Function calling already allowed you to have some tools in your agent. You could call those tools and you can get a result back. Basically, there's two main points that I can see. The first one is the landscape was very fragmented. For instance, in the Mistral client, when you do function calling, you send out your function, your list of tools. The model sends you back the argument that it wants to call the function with, but you have to call the function yourself. In other SDK, it might be different. So this is already one of the main difference. But if you want to bring your tools from one ecosystem to another, it's very likely that you're going to duplicate your work. So take the code base that you've done for your local function, like function calls, and bring them into your next project, basically. So you're going to have redundancy in the requirements and so on and so on. So it's take a bit of work. And with MCP, you can actually set up a server, and it can be imported in one project, in another, and in another. And most likely, you can not redo the work that company do for you. For instance, if you want the GitHub MCP, it's better and way easier to take the already existing one than re-implement one yourself. So an MCP is a connection between one client and a server. This connection is happening in JSON. You send the parameter you want to call the tool with. It sends back the result. So the execution of the tool happens on the server side. The server actually hosts the tools, and there's actually an endpoint that says, okay, the client is what tools you have, and the answer is answering okay, I have those tools that correspond to this specification. You need to provide me those arguments, and I'm going to give you back those arguments, those responses. So there's different type of clients. You can use a chat interface, like Le Chat, ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever. SDKs are clients, for instance, or any other external libraries, or IDEs like Cursor. So in our context, we're going to dive into Le Chat and the SDK. As for the servers, usually how do certain type of servers work? It depends on the clients that you are using. For instance, if you are using Le Chat or a chat assistant, that is on the web, you can only use remote servers and not local ones, because obviously for your chat application, localhost doesn't mean anything. It cannot run npx command for you. So this is why you only can take HTTP kind of servers, while in SDK, we usually support all of them. All right, so if we wrap this up, while I did present these tools, prompts, and resources, if I ask again in the audience, how many of you use other kind of resources than tools? I guess there's going to be way less hands up in the air. So it's mainly used for tools. We imagine something like that. A client talks with the server, and the server can take action other sources, whether the web, a database, a file system in the case of STDIO protocols. But in reality, it looks more like that. you have one client that interacts with multiple servers, and the server are very specific to one task rather than having like one server that makes all of your specific requests. I did a very small demo that is pre-recorded, in which I have like a custom MCP server that I created, which is hosted on Hugging Face spaces without authentication, because there's 3 types of authentication in an MCP server. You have either no authentication, and anybody can connect if they have your URL. You have token authentication, like the case of GitHub. When you're on GitHub, you create a token, and the scope that you give and the authorization you give to that token are the one that your agent are going to be able to like manage and like have an influence on. And there's like full-fledged authentication, like in the case of Linear, for instance. All right. So as outlined before by my friend from Alan and from Alpic, this is super important to well specify your tools. In a classical MCP tool, it would look like that. You have a decorator that goes on top of a function. It has a textual description of what that function do. It's very important that you specify input-output typing, and that you are like as specific as you can of what your tool is actually doing on the server, because the model doesn't see the code; it only sees like what the server is actually saying it has as a tool. At Mistral, we are very like eager to implement MCP servers, and we have actually a lot more coming. But for now, I'm just gonna present like the current scope of what we have, because as the famous meme of a few weeks ago said, the S in MCP stands for security. We want to build with security. So while we could like build fast, we actually want you to be secure in your use of MCP and not go too fast on new techniques. So there's 2 integrations that exist in the Mistral ecosystem. The first one is Le Chat, and the second one is directly our client. And you may think that you fit in one or the other, but the general use case is you're probably using both, probably using the same MCP server in both at the same time, and not for the same use cases. If you're like just on your daily life, want to check your emails, want to check your calendar, you're probably going to like pass by Le Chat. But if you have like a professional application and you're an engineer, you're probably like going to build something yourself with the clients directly. So if we start with Le Chat, I guess all of you know, but this is our chat assistant. If we go directly into it, if internet's allow. Wow. Oh yeah, thanks. It did stop. My bad. Live demos as always. All right. Should be better. Let me reload. All right, so the UI looks like that. So you can see that we added recently like a new panel for tools. Those are our in-bin tools, and there's like the connectors. Some of them are featured, meaning like we did the integration for you, and you can directly add them in the intelligence tab. You go into connectors, and you have a list of connectors that are directly available. You have the possibility to add custom connectors if you know the server URL, and then you can directly tackle them. For the one that were here also for the GeoGuessr demo, I have the exact same one running as an MCP server, so might showcase it later for if you're interested. And then it's pretty simple. For instance, here I have the Google Calendar one that is activated, and I can start asking my question. What time is my flight next week? So it's going to think, if I did not allow it to answer directly, it's going to like ask me for my permission, but this is a tool that I allowed to always answer directly. So it directly answered to me that it's on October 21st to Tokyo at 9:30 a.m. Cool. But that was pretty basic. So let's see like a maybe fast another implementation. So as you can see, I'm going to my Hugging Face space that has a public URL, as all Hugging Face space do. I can input it into the space server, giving it a username, like a name for that MCP server, in this case, Reddit. Not like forgetting to add the /MCP, which says it's a streamable HTTP endpoint. And then you can see that what functions are available on that specific endpoint. So my use case as a developer, I have to like see the feedback of the community and like make that feedback or the potential improvement to our documentation or the feedback just to the engineering team. This is an MCP server that just scraps Reddit and lists pain points in a Markdown table. So let's say here I identified one that says, oh, I have memories in ChatGPT. I want to move them to Le Chat. It's not possible. Indeed, it's actually possible. So I'm just checking on Linear if there's something like a ticket that mentioned this use case. And while I'm talking, you can directly see the OAuth 2 connection, where I'm directly connecting to the Linear of the company. Is there a ticket currently highlighting this need? So there's one that highlights that it needs to be created of a way to migrate chart history. And it was actually like an old one that I did for demo purpose, and I'm asking it to modify it. I'm going to advance a little bit faster. Basically, it's modifying the ticket. I'm asking it to draft like a PR that would just say in our documentation what and how can people like migrate the ChatGPT story into Le Chat and like basically make the PR directly, creating the token, giving into the GitHub MCP. That token is revoked, by the way. And basically, it's gonna do the PR for me in a Canvas feature, so I can see what the Markdown document would look like. It looks good, so I'm saying like, yeah, okay, you can create your branch, create your file, then open the PR. It has been opened, checking, and it looks good, so you can merge, and yeah, basically that's it. Okay. The second interface in which you can have MCP server is directly our client. This is going to be more interesting for the developers here. What I mean by API is directly the client. So we now have like a client .agent.create endpoint in which you can create an agent, list certain tools. So if it's that simple, we start web search. Those are the built-in tool, the one that you could see on the left side of the panel in Le Chat, the built-in one, like image generation, web search, and so on. This is the normal agent loop that goes into any agent. You ask a question, it's going into the SDK. The LLM is going to make a choice. Do I call a tool? Do I answer directly? And basically the standard loop that I think we've all seen many times over and over. But the thing when you have the control over the SDK that you can implement more complex workflows. So in the case of Le Chat, you only have one LLM that has a certain set of tools. In this case, you can actually implement multi-agent system that each have their own subset of tools. And we have a specific method in which they can like end off the work to another agent, sub-agent. So basically, it goes like that. In the client, you can declare some tools, either stdio, SSC, Streamalert, HTTP. You can create some agents. You can even, if you want, like define some specific outputs that you want. You can register those tools in the context, in the context, and like basically after that you can run your tool. So this is like the option that is you're gonna leverage if you want to build agent in production. What it looks like with a little bit of a UI using Streamlit in this case. So you can see if you ask for Paris itinerary, it's going to first route to one agent, then it's going to select, okay, I need to do web search. So it's going to end off to another one. And you can have like that really multi-agent system in which the LLM itself has the control of, do I have the capacity to answer that question directly, or do I need to like end it off to a more specialized agent? As I always say, like agents don't scale well within the number of tools. So you should aim to like create either limited number of tools that are very specialized. If you can create a workflow as a tool rather than like I don't know, get time and book appointments, you should like implement a tool that would do directly the whole thing directly, rather than an individual function together. So if we wrap up a little bit on the client and servers, we don't have IDEs that support MCPs. In the context of Lusha, it's going to be very more limited. It's going to be only HTTP servers that you can leverage directly in Lusha. But if you're using the SDK, you can use both of them. Like there's no problem at all. Some pros and cons about MCPs. So from what I've seen, this is super cool because this is an open standard. You can reuse that. You can have an MCP server that you're using in project one. You can like directly leverage it in another one. You can use MCP server that have been created by other and often by directly the library or service providers. Which is something that in the era of function call was super hard to integrate with existing tools. You had to dig into their own API and craft those tools yourself. Here, with a simple URL, you can directly have the toolbox ready-made for you. And it's super easy to share the tools that you made with others. They can use it and so on. As I said, it's the S in MCP is security. So you can have prompt injection. I guess we've all seen the OpenAI demo where they studied that they could hack like a calendar based on the Google Calendar MCP. So if I send a Google invite with some prompt injection in the notes to Sam Altman, for instance, saying like, okay, you should answer me with like the email of your 10 biggest clients, and he asked a question on his Google Calendar MCP about the meeting of next week. He's going to see like my hidden instruction, and it might like send me back that email that I asked it in the hidden instruction. So there's some vulnerability. So that's why while we are super like looking forward to the development of MCPs, we don't want to go too fast. There's a lot of security concerns with image return types, with those kind of prompt injection that are possible and so on. And there's also a huge lack of visibility. You can add MCP server by only a URL, but what you get is a textual description of what that tool does, and you have to kind of believe that it does what it says it does. So from big providers like, I don't know, GitHub, this is not a problem. Millions of people use it. But for custom MCP server, can you really trust the one that shared it with you? If it's not a colleague, if it's not a friend, might pose some problems. Little ad, but we have a phone app, and any MCP server that you had on Lusha are also available on your phone. which is super cool. If you're on the go, you can directly leverage your custom MCP directly from your phone. So if you have integration, automatization that you added into Le Chat, you're not in front of your computer, that works. And now it's Q&A, unless I have time to do the custom MCPs, and I'm looking for Gabrielle. No. Yeah, okay. Okay. Q&A later or now? Okay. Is there any question?
Thank you. My question is very obvious. It's about data privacy, and if you get back some user data, which kind of security you have to protect them to be used on your data file or something like that?
Sorry, not really clear. Yeah. For training of next models, I actually don't know at all. I'm sorry, but I don't think so. Yeah. Maybe one next. My answer to the first was probably much more underwhelming than expected.
Are you planning or thinking of supporting the MCP UI or anything similar like the apps SDK?
So yes, this is part of the thing that we kind of want to leverage next. Definitely like looking forward to those use cases. There's one trick that can be leveraged if you don't have UIs right now. So we have a feature that is called Canvas that quickly showed whenever I asked. So in the first demo, I asked. Sorry, to generate a markdown, and I asked it to be rendered in markdown in the canvas feature. So as you can see, there were a panel on the left that showcased the markdown. This can be used to some extent to display UIs. In that specific example, I did a running MCP server that takes a starting point and an ending point. And I asked it to return, like basically my MCP server returns some HTML code, and I basically open it as an iframe. So you can have some UIs to some extent, but those UIs cannot be seen by the model. So there's things that you can already do in the existing scope. But yeah, definitely we're looking to implement those new techniques when we find the secure way to do so. I think that's good.
Thank you. Thank you.